read by Swami Vivekananda at the World Parliament of Religions on 19 September 1893 at Chicago. This presentation is part 2 of that speech. Part 1 of the speech is already uploaded on this YouTube channel. So then, the Hindu believes that he is a spirit. Him the sword cannot pierce. Him the fire cannot burn. Him the water cannot melt. Him the air cannot dry. The Hindu believes that every soul is a circle whose circumference is nowhere, but whose center is located in the body, and that death means change of the center from body to body. Nor is the soul bound by the conditions of matter. In its very essence, it is free, unbounded, holy, pure, and perfect. But somehow or the other it finds itself tied down to matter and thinks of itself as matter. Why should the free, perfect, and pure being be thus under the thraldom of matter is the next question. How can the perfect soul be deluded into the belief that it is imperfect? We have been told that Hindus shirk the question and say that no such question can be there. Some thinkers want to answer it by positing one or more quasi-perfect beings and then by using big scientific names to fill up the gap. But naming is not explaining. The question remains the same. How can the perfect become the quasi-perfect? How can the pure, the absolute, change even in a microscopic particle of its nature? But the Hindu is sincere. He does not want to take shelter under sophistry. He is brave enough to face the question in a manly fashion, and his answer simply is, I do not know. I do not know how the perfect being, the soul, came to think of itself as imperfect, as joined to and conditioned by matter. But the fact is a fact for all of that. It is a fact in everybody's consciousness that one thinks of oneself as the body. The Hindu does not attempt to explain why one thinks of one is the body. The answer that it is the will of God is no explanation. This is nothing more than what the Hindu says, I do not know. Well then, the human soul is eternal and immortal, perfect and infinite, and death means only a change of center from one body to another. The present is determined by our past actions, and the future by the present. The soul will go on evolving up or reverting back from birth to birth and from death to death. But then here is another question. Is man a tiny boat in a tempest, raised one moment on the foamy crest of a billow, and dashed down into a yawning chasm in the next, rolling to and fro at the mercy of the good and the bad actions? A powerless, helpless wreck in an ever-raging, ever-rushing, uncompromising current of cause and effect? A little moth placed under the wheel of causation, which rolls on, crushing everything in its way, and waits not for the widow's tears or the orphan's cry? The heart sinks at this idea, yet this is the law of nature. Is there no hope? Is there no escape? Was the cry that went up from the bottom of the heart of despair. It reached the throne of mercy, and words of hope and consolation came down and inspired a Vedic sage. And he stood up before the world and in a trumpet voice proclaimed the glad tidings. Hear ye, children of immortal bliss, even ye that reside in the higher spheres. I have found the Ancient One who is beyond all darkness, all delusion. Knowing him alone, you shall be saved from death over again. Children of immortal bliss, what a sweet, what a hopeful name. Allow me to call you, brethren, by that sweet name. Heirs of immortal bliss, yea, the Hindu refuses to call you sinners. Ye are the children of God, the sharers of immortal bliss, holy and perfect beings, ye divinities on earth, sinners, it is a sin to call a man so. It is standing libel on human nature. Come up, O lions, and shake up the delusion that you are sheep. You are souls immortal, spirits free, blessed and eternal. You are not matter. Ye are not bodies. Matter is your servant, and you are not the servant of matter. Thus, it is that the Vedas proclaim not a dreadful combination of unforgiving laws, not an endless prism of cause and effect, but then that the head of all these laws, in and through every particle of matter and force, stands one, by whose command the wind blows, the fire burns, the clouds rain, and death stalks upon the earth. But what is his nature? He is everywhere, the pure and formless one, the Almighty and the All-Merciful. Thou art our Father, Thou art our Mother, Thou art our beloved friend, Thou art the source of all strength. Give us strength. Thou art He that beareth the burdens of the universe. Help me bear the little burden of this life. Thus sang the rishis of the Veda. And how to worship Him? Through love. He is to be worshipped as the one beloved, dearer than everything in this and the next life. This is the doctrine of love declared in the Vedas, and let us see how it is fully developed and taught by Krishna, whom the Hindus believe to have been God incarnate on this earth. He taught the man ought to live in this world like a lotus leaf, which grows in water, but which is never moistened by water. So man ought to live in this world, his heart to God and his hands to work. It is good to love God for hope of reward in this or the next world, but it is better to love God for love's sake. And the prayer goes, Lord, I do not want wealth, nor children, nor learning. If it be thy will, I shall go from birth to birth. But grant me this, that I may love thee without the hope of reward, loving unselfishly for love's sake. One of the disciples of Krishna, the then emperor of the earth, was driven from his kingdom by his enemies and had to take shelter with his queen in a forest in the Himalayas. And there one day the queen asked him how it was that he, the most virtuous of men, should suffer so much misery. Yudhishthir answered, Behold, my queen, the Himalayas, how grand and beautiful they are. I love them. They do not give me anything, but my nature is to love the grand, the beautiful, and therefore I love them. Similarly, I love the Lord. He is the source of all beauty, of all sublimity. He is the only object to be loved. My nature is to love Him, and therefore I love. I do not pray for anything. I do not ask for anything. Let Him place me wherever He likes. I must love Him for love's sake. I cannot trade in love. The Vedas teach us that the soul is divine, only held in the bondage of matter. Perfection will be reached when this bond will burst. And the word they use for it, therefore, is mukti, freedom. Freedom from the bonds of imperfection and freedoms from the from death and misery. And this bondage can only fall off through the mercy of God, and this mercy comes on the pure. So purity is the condition of His mercy. How does that mercy act? He reveals Himself to the pure heart. The pure and the stainless see God. Yea, even in this life, then and only then all the crookedness of the heart is made straight. Then all doubts cease. He is no more the freak of a terrible law of causation. This is the very center, the very vital conception of Hinduism. The Hindu does not want to live upon words and theories. If there are existences beyond the ordinary sensuous existence, he wants to come face to face with them. If there is a soul in him which is not matter, if there is an all merciful universal soul, he will go to him direct. He must see him, and that alone can destroy all doubts. So, the best proof a Hindu sage gives about the soul, about God, is I have seen the soul, I have seen God. And that is the only condition of perfection. The Hindu religion does not consist in struggles and attempts to believe a certain doctrine or dogma, but in realizing, not in believing, but in being and in becoming. Thus, the whole object of their system is, by constant struggle, to become perfect, to become divine, to reach God, to see God, and this reaching of God, seeing God, becoming perfect, even as the Father in heaven is perfect, constitutes the religion of the Hindus. And what becomes of a man when he attains perfection? He lives a life of bliss infinite. He enjoys infinite and perfect bliss. Having obtained the only thing in which man ought to have pleasure, namely God, he enjoys the bliss with God.